Have you been thinking about starting a podcast but have no idea where to start? Have you been guesting on podcasts for a while and realize having your own podcast might be a really good fit for you and your business? I'm Dr. Julie Marty-Pearson, host of Podcast Your Story, amplifying women's voices in podcasting. I am here to help you with any of those questions and much more. But if you've been thinking about starting a podcast, or you've been guesting a while and you think a podcast is right for you, then this episode is definitely right for you. In this episode, I talked to my friend and my client, Jackie Cote, who I helped launch her podcast, the I Got It Girl podcast. I am so excited for her and to see her excitement and joy in this interview, talking about it and how proud she is of herself of launching. I know you're going to get inspired to start your own show, and I really would love to help you with that process. So if you are a podcaster or you're thinking about becoming one, listen to this episode, hear Jackie's story and what made her finally hit not only record, but publish and launch her podcast. I know it will inspire you and maybe spark something in you that you've been thinking about doing yourself. I want to give a special shout out to the members of the Podcast Your Story community for being in the community and help to support this podcast. Now, here is this brand new episode. I know you are going to enjoy it. Hello, my friends, and welcome to a brand new episode of Podcast Your Story. I am your host, Julie Marty-Pearson, and I am very excited to have a new guest here today, a friend of mine, a client of mine, and a brand new podcaster. Welcome to the podcast, Jackie Cote.
Oh gosh, it's so funny to hear you say that out loud back to me because I'm officially a podcaster now, and I never thought I would be. And it wasn't for you and a couple other people that I kept, like, in 1 week, I got 3 messages downloading to me going, it's time, it's time, it's time. And then I just jumped into your beta program that you did, which was amazing. Over delivery, as usual, with Julie Marty-Pearson. And because of that program, I today now am a podcaster. So thank you for having me.
Yay! So much yes in that little sentence.
So much yes. And it's been so much fun. I can't not what I expected at all. Let's just be honest. I thought there was a lot of I avoided doing it for so many years because I was like, oh, it's just so much work. I don't want to do the work. I don't want to do all the technology or all the blah, 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 right? And I know that the podcasters have been around a while. Yes, it was a lot of work, but a lot of things have changed. And you showed us how much it's changed and it made it so much easier. And now I can go from recording to launching the podcast, scheduling it to go out in like an hour total between the interview and putting it together and putting it out. And so that was not what I expected. So you made it really easy.
Well, first of all, let's give a clap for easy. We all need an easy button. But yeah, first of all, what you've said is so true. When I started podcasting back in 2021, even just that short period ago, it cost a fortune just for somebody to transcribe it, to get a transcript. Now we get a transcript in Descript, in YouTube, in Apple. We get it in 10 different places, and you get to choose which one you want to use. So there are so many little things that make it so much quicker. But I want to start with the being in your head. It's going to be too hard. But listening to the voice in your head and by others of there's a reason people keep telling me I need to do this. So going back a little bit, you'd already always thought about a podcast. What about podcasting was alluring to you? Why did you think you wanted one?
Well, I will say that I was a kick-ass podcast guest for years. I did it. And that's something I've learned in my business is that if I want to do something and I'm not quite sure, then I go do it in other people's worlds. So if I want to run a retreat, I went to 12 retreats before I ran my first retreat. So I was super, super knowledgeable what I liked, what I didn't like, what I wanted it to be like, what I didn't want it to be like. So I did that with podcasting too. So I became a guest for a solid 4 years. I've got them all on my website. So go check out all the amazing podcasters, including Julie's will be there as soon as we're done. And so that gave me a lot of like, "Oh, I like how she did this. I like how they did this. How I don't wanna quite do it that way," like and so I had a lot of forefront knowledge there. And then I think what like, again, the technology is really the biggest piece that kept holding me back, thinking that I was gonna be it was gonna be so hard and so much time, and how could I stay committed, consistent, and all of that. And when I got one of the biggest messages I got that pushed me over the over the threshold into doing it was somebody saying, "It's your free content, and one thing creates, like, as much free content as you want when you learn how to do it," right? And I had been doing my typical free content was workshops, right? Workshop after workshop, "Come see this free workshop, come do this, da, da, da," and I'd be throwing a lot of spaghetti on the wall. But the thing that I felt like was missing from my free content was deep conversations and something that storytelling. And those are 2 things that are so important to me in with my clients, with my friends, like, I can't get it from my husband because he's not a conversationalist, so I look elsewhere, and I was having such
Same, girl, same.
I know a lot of you can relate listening to this. I even had a conversation literally last night with him about, like, "I have to get this elsewhere because I know we can't do this," and he's like, "I appreciate that, like, you not putting that hat on me, like, or that expectation," right? So, so long story short, like, I ended up hearing that from somebody going, "Good point, like, this wraps up all the things I love to do into free content that's evergreen that who knows who I'm gonna impact now, a year from now, 5 years from now with the video that I did on this date," you know? So and being able to break that down into more ways to impact people and inspire people through shorts, reels, all the different things, right? And the message. And so when I heard that, it's something just clicked, and I also think readiness and timing always plays a role, you know? Like, if someone told me that a year ago, it probably didn't click, maybe 6 months ago didn't click, and then it clicked. So trusting that intuition when it's like, "Yeah, it's time," and trusting the multiple messages I kept getting from your your stuff that you were putting out, the stuff that I went to with someone else at a workshop I went with someone else. So workshops work, by the way, I'm not dogging workshops. They work, and this is another way for me to truly sit in my magic because my human
Mm.
design is storyteller.
Well, and I think that's so important because, so many of us do free workshops as our lead gen, but I've heard a lot of different things, but one thing I read recently was on average, people need to consume 7.5 hours of your content before they buy, or 13 or more pieces of content. And we all know right now, social media engagement is down across the board. People are not going to social as much. We're all fried. We don't want to go there and be overwhelmed by the negativity in the world. And we all get a million emails every day. The one thing about podcasting is it's a different way to connect. It's something a lot of us go to instead of social media or instead of our email list because it's different. And, you get notifications once you set up, like, oh, there's a new episode out. I want to listen to it. Or this was such a great episode. I want to go listen to more from her. Right. So a lot of what you're saying is so important for people to realize. One, as podcasters, we own our content. We get to decide what it looks like, what it sounds like, how often it comes out, how long it is, who we talk to, what we talk about. Yes, there is algorithms in the apps in terms of discoverability. But if once people find your podcast, they're always going to be notified when new episodes come out. And then that's going to be what we use to make all the other content, the emails and the blogs and all the things, right? So I think what you're saying is so important for people to hear is podcasting doesn't equal dollar signs in that, oh, you're going to put a podcast out and people are going to automatically start paying you for things or signing up. No, it's a new avenue for people to discover you, to get to know you, to trust you, to realize, "Oh, Jackie really knows what the hell she's talking about," right?
Yep. Yes, absolutely, and I think that, I love doing what you do, what you're doing right now with me is highlighting other people, and the work that I do always is able to show up in the conversation with the people that I'm interviewing, and so it's a two-way street. It's like it's highlighting in 2 different markets, like, everybody's gifts, and I love that. Like, that's my way of giving back, like, how can I give back and get, like, Julie seen everywhere, and so she's coming on mine, guys, too.
Yes, but I think that's so important because as I talked about in your program. So Jackie mentioned she was a part of my first round. I have a new group program. So it's a lower cost for people versus my one-on-one launch program. And it was really fun because I had you and 3 others that were diverse and, different perspectives, different questions. So what I found in group programs is you come in knowing what you want to learn, but you also learn from what other people ask or other people talk about. And I think that, one of the things some of us are really good at is the interview process, right? This is my favorite part of podcasting. I could talk to people all day long. Interviewing is a skill I've had for so long that I don't even think about it. Solo episodes for me take more time to plan and think about what should I talk about? What do people need? Right. But, having guests on your podcast is important because it also introduces your podcast to your guest community, right? So you get to highlight them for people already listening, but then they're sharing it and then their people start listening and not only hear them, but then hear you. So it's this mutual, I think you and I are both connectors. We're supporters. We're people who like to lift up other women. And podcasting is such a great way to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And it's my favorite part of it, really is. Like, I can have fun, like, yapping my jaws on my own little episode and sharing stuff, but I get lit up when I hear others, especially, like, I'm in the zone, right, where it's like I'm really with people I truly know, and I know there's a lot of their stories, and I'm working through them, and then I'm excited for, like, the people that I don't know that, like, come because of the podcast and come on and I get to know them better through being on the podcast and through having the conversations, and so it there's so and I think I'm just even just tapping the surface of what is possible because I'm so new, like, I'm 1 week in as you guys are hearing this, like, I'm 1 as we're recording this, right? And I'm, like, excited that 112 people listen to things and, like or 112 times, whatever, like, and I get giddy about this, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, did you the episode came out," and I get my little email notification like, "Your scheduled episode went out," and I'm like, so all the little moments are so exciting, and I can't wait to think, "Ooh, a year from now. Ooh, 2 years from now. Ooh, how many people am I gonna have?" Like, it just gets exciting. Which again, I it was unknown, and I think we're so scared of the unknown and the fears that we put in our head, and this is kind of the work I do. It's like working with people to I had to recognize what was I telling myself? What were the lies that I was telling myself that was holding me back from saying, "Do this." And now that I'm doing it, and it's always girl, it is always less scary than what we think it is, right? We have this, like, built up picture that's, like,
Yes.
so dramatic. The
Oh my
worries in our
gosh.
brain are so dramatic, and then we go and do it, we're like, "Well, that wasn't so bad. That wasn't
Yeah.
so much," right? So
And I am such a procrastinator, even little things. I've always been like that, and I think it's because I worry and I let that get in my way of just sitting down and doing the thing. And I can tell you as a person who's been podcasting for 5 years, there are still moments I question it, that I say, "Why am I even doing this? No one's even listening. It doesn't matter." Like, we always do that to ourselves, and so I love hearing your, like, joy in it and all the little things like, "Oh, this is so great. This is so fun. I get to see these things," because ultimately that's why a lot of us are still here because it is fun. We do enjoy it. There's so much of podcasting we love, but it's also the other side of you don't always see what the transformation is for your business. Obviously, we have to see, like, people say, "Oh, I heard your podcast," or, "Oh, I follow you," and, it's a domino process that we're not always seeing all the little moves, but I love your perspective of celebrating the little things because even for myself, you know, I think we all tell ourselves, "Oh, that's not a big enough download to share. No one wants to hear it." It's like, no, celebrate all of it. Like, a lot of people have no idea how to ever have a podcast. So if you're doing it and you're putting it out there and people are listening, like, celebrate that because it is a big deal. I never thought I'd be doing this, let alone still doing it and now helping other people to do it.
right?
So I really love your perspective of just the joy and excitement of how it's unfolding and what's to come.
Here so and let me just tack onto that because something I heard a long time ago from a multi-level marketing company was, like, "Marry the front end process, divorce the results." And it
Mhm.
really clicked because it's like, we we get so caught up in what are the results? What are the results? What are the results? What am I getting out of this? What am I getting out of this? Like, how many people are going to sign up? Blah, 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 like whatever the thing is. Like as a coach, we put out programs. Okay, how many people are going to sign up? How many? And we forget to really, truly, intentionally enjoy the front end process. And what this podcasting for me, in just the short couple months we've been together doing this process and getting it up and running, which I'm shocked I was the first one to do, by the way. I just forgot to say that. Like out of your cohort. When you said that, I was like, what? How did I become like, because I only put things on the back burner too. But what I've discovered is that it's lit me up, it's fired me up, it's re-energized me, it's helped me bring back a spark that I had lost in my
Mm,
business. Because in the beginning of my business, I was on fire when it came to I didn't know too much. Let's just say that. So I didn't know when you don't know too much, everything's exciting. Like everything's like new
right.
and like shiny and this and that. And then there was a couple years of like I was just passionate and I was feeling and da 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 da. And then year 3, like 4 or 5 came up because I'm on year 6 now, I think. 4 or 5 and like something shifted. Now, yeah, I had a lot of family stuff and a year of university, but something shifted and something changed and I'm like, the fire wasn't fully there. Like, I love what I do, never going back to a job, always gonna be doing this for life. But something was missing, and then this, I realized I looked at my husband, I was like, "I figured something that's reigniting the fire more than I thought it would." Like, I didn't know
Mm,
until I started doing it, and now I can feel it, and I'm like, I get so excited. Like, today, I was on someone's podcast, yours, and I was interviewing someone for mine, and I was like, "This is so cool." Like, that I'm on both ends. So, my advice for anyone listening, anything you're doing, whether it's podcasting, whatever, like, just really have fun on the front end with whatever you're doing, and if you're not, why are you doing it? Like,
right.
yes, there's things we're not gonna enjoy. There's processes and procedures we might not fully be like, "Yay, I get
Right.
to do
Yeah.
XYZ." I get that, and I'm not sugarcoating that. And if the overall picture is not being enjoyed in some capacity, why are you doing it? So, that's how I knew this was right for me, is I got those
Well,
feelings of like, "Yes, I wanna do more of this."
yep. And going back to what you said at the beginning about how you were guesting for 4 years and learning and just enjoying that, that is the first thing I ask anybody I meet that says they wanna start a podcast. I'm like, "Great, have you been a guest?" "No." "Okay, well, that's where we're starting." I
Yeah.
always say, "I'm not a podcast pusher." 1, not everyone needs one, not everyone has the capacity to do it. But 2, you have to know if you even enjoy doing it before you invest time and money into something. And also, I've met some people lately that have been telling me they've been told it's $5,000, $10,000, and I'm just like, "No, no, no." Like, yes, I know I could be upping my prices. But I wanna help the people that don't have that kind of money to hand to somebody to create it for them. And I also wanna give people the tools so that they can do it themselves. I don't want you to rely on me for all the things, and then one day you're like, "I can't afford to pay you anymore, so my podcast is dead," right? So there's so many things, but I always start with guesting because you have to see if you even feel right in this space. You have to feel and you also as a host should know what it feels like to be a guest. You have to be on the other side of it. And like you said, Jackie, which is so important, you learn what you like that the hosts do, and you also learn what you don't like. And the same for me. I guest all the time because I learn from other podcasters. The great thing about podcasting is we can do it 10,000 different ways. But there's little things we can learn by being interviewed by others and seeing how they run their show and how they put it out and what they do in this process, right? So it sounds like your time guesting really set you up for success to be able to do your own.
Huge, huge. Excuse me, and something like I'll give you an example, like, there's these intros and outros, right, that everyone we listen to podcasts, and as I listen to them, like, it's on repeat of, like and there's nothing wrong with them, there's nothing like, it's not right or wrong to have one or not have one, and I got so stuck in my head, I can't launch this until I record this little thing and then learn how to attach this thing to this and attach this thing to this. And like I got in like my own little silly, like hearing it out loud sounds silly, right? But in my head, it was huge. And then I had someone else that I crossed paths with that I think I met on one of your things, go figure. And she just said, "Just put it out there, like, and then see what you like, and just." So I started recording people, doing interviews, and I put it out there. I did my, like all the things you taught me, and I didn't attach anything to it. and I loved it without it. And I was like, "Oh, I get to do that." And she's like, "Yeah, you do. And you've said that to us too, like, oh, you get to do it your way." And I teach this, right? I teach this and I mentor this in others, like, awaken and power, knowing who you are and make sure you do it your way. Like I always say, take what you like and leave the rest with all of my coaching and all my group programs. Take what you like and leave the rest. And yet I was sitting there going, but I need to do it because they're doing it and they're doing it.
Yep.
And I'm like, I don't need to do anything that I don't want to do. So that's my
And
another
I
word of
think
advice.
that right there is a really big piece to not just podcasting, but business ownership and entrepreneurship. That, we all say, I want a podcast like, I want this like. It's like, no, you can't be them. You're never gonna have that. Even if you copy every little thing they do, it's still not them, it's you, right? And
Absolutely.
I will say it's kind of a double-edged sword with podcasting because we have the freedom to make it however we want. But then where it's like, "What do you mean you don't tell me how to do it exactly? I have to decide?" Like, especially women, sometimes we don't want more things to decide on. We just want somebody
Right?
to make the decision.
Yeah.
But I think it's so great that you mentioned that because, yeah, some podcasters have the same intro on everyone or have a separate intro they record for every episode, and some don't. Some just do a kind of light intro as we start the interview, and that's good enough, right?
Mhm.
Ultimately, it's the content people are coming for. And yes, different intros, different hooks can reel people in, but they're really there for the content. They're not there for the bells and whistles and all the fancy stuff. They're there to hear people talk about something specific that they need some support in or some advice in or some education in, right? So I love that you shared that because it's so important that we own this is my podcast and I get to decide what it looks like, what it sounds like, when it comes out, how long I do it, when I change it. Like we have so much power in podcasting. And I do think that's why so many of us love it because we never feel stuck because we're
Right.
constantly evolving.
Yeah. I can change it later. Like, that's another thing. It's like, if I decide for the first year I don't put them on, but then next year I wanna put on or 6 months or a month from now, I wanna put on an intro and outro, I can do it then. I can
Right.
change my notes. I can change my format. I can go from weekly to every other week. I can go for, whatever, like and that's I'm a big I understand the concept, consistency, but remember consistency and is your version of consistency, not like everybody. Like, everybody doesn't have to be consistently doing it every week. And you said this to us, right? Like consistency doesn't mean you have to post one every week. It can be every other week. It could be once a month. What does your consistency look like? It gets to be modeled to what you wanna do, and that was really so there's a lot of freeing nuggets between what you've shared and other people have shared with me that really helped alleviate and this is why we get into community with people, right? And this is why we connect with people. This is why we hire people because we can't read our own label on our jar. We're stuck in this jar, and I can't I need someone else to help me see what I can't see that's possible for me that I'm not seeing myself, and that's why we get support. So,
Well, and I think that's an important thing just in general because, I talk about accountability, but accountability sometimes is just hearing it from somebody else. Like, I think as coaches, especially, we're really good at helping other people do things a certain way and get in line and organized and all of that. But we're not always great at doing it for ourselves, right?
yes.
We tell them they can do whatever they want, and then we question ourselves being able to do the same thing. And that's why for me, I continue to guest because I learn from other podcasters. And sometimes even just the conversation we have, it's like, God, why have I been hung up on that thing?
Right.
Like, why?
I am
Why?
I am a badass. Like, let's just say it, that's, sorry, I probably should have asked about language, but, I really, I think that's a really good point that you brought up. It's that we will recognize when we get in interviews on podcast guesting, do that first, and we see how amazing we are. Like, we don't realize it until we start doing
Hmm.
this modality, it's just amazing. This practice of podcasting, it just highlights how amazing you truly are that you didn't realize it because of what came out of your
Right.
mouth, and you're like, "Oh, look what I shared. That's right. Look at me."
Well, and there's also something to say for I've been interviewed by podcasters who I see as very successful. They've been doing it much longer than me. They know things I don't. And then they'll compliment me. And I'm like, oh, well, thank you. Like, I think there is a freeingness of just that feeling of engagement and interviewing and being together. But also, I think for me, what I found being a podcaster is there's a level of prestige or expertise when you say, I'm a podcaster. It's like, okay. But then also, what I found in the podcasting community as a whole, it's very supportive. And yes, there are people who are very salesy, and I have even had an interview or two where I felt like I was being coached and I was being sold to, which was icky, and I did not like it. But for the most part, it's not. And I've had people who I think are big podcasters or big celebrities agree to be on my podcast because of the connection we built and how we met. And when you say, hey, I'd love to have you on my podcast too, there's this leveling of, oh, you're a podcaster too? That's great. Of course I'll do that. Let's do episode swaps, right? So I do feel like there's this freeingness of kind of stepping into and owning it, but also you get reminded, oh, yeah, I do know what I'm talking about.
And we could all use a reflection reminder of our greatness. It's
Absolutely.
being an entrepreneur can be real lonely, like real self-motivating and self da da da, yay. And then you're like, somebody please tell me I'm doing great.
Yes.
Please. Like, I can self-motivate myself to really well, and I just did the episode I just did before you is another podcaster who has been on radio since the '70s and has been in podcasting and stuff like that, and for her to give me feedback afterwards, that was like, "You're a natural. Like, this is meant for you." And I was like, "You told me?" Like, this woman who's been doing it for
Right.
30 years, like she's like, "I don't tell that to everybody." And I'm like, "Sure you do. You probably tell all the kids that." She's like, "No, I don't." And to hear it from you and to hear it from people I respect in this world is really cool, and so I'm excited for more moments of being able to do that for each other, and that's what I love when you said a supportive community, I'm excited to get into more of those supportive communities besides yours, you know?
Right. And I think for me, if I didn't find a very supportive community for myself early, I wouldn't still be podcasting.
Mm.
And so that's very important to me to also now create that for others because it is very easy, especially as women, to talk ourselves out of things, tell us we're not ready, tell us we're not good enough, or it's too much to learn, we can't do it. No, we need to break it down. We can all do it. It's just a matter of what's the right time and all of that. So we talked a little bit about like what drew you to wanting to have a podcast of your own. But now that your podcast, the I Got It Girl podcast, is out, let's talk about the idea around the I Got It Girl podcast. Why that title, that topic, and what does that mean for you?
My life? It means everything about my life, let's just say. I used to say I for years, I've been saying, like, "Oof, I'm a recovering I got it girl," like, and what the I got it girl philosophy came from is ever since I was a kid, I had to figure out how to get life accomplished and done. Mom passed away when I was 5, dad, was raising 6 kids, had a construction company of his own. And then a couple years after mom passed, met my stepmom, who had been in my life for 40 plus years. He is establishing a relationship. So there was a lot going on. And I was kind of and I say this with love, forgotten child. Like I was kind of like, okay, like if I needed to eat, I figured out how to cook. And I hated microwaves. So I was like, I'm going to cook. So I learned how to cook real young. If I needed clean clothes, I learned how to push the buttons and put some detergent in. And I'd ask questions of a brother every now and then who never had time for me. There were 6 of us, but they were all older too. There was a big gap between us. If I needed to get to school, like I have an experience where I got on the wrong bus and went to the wrong school because I had to figure out what bus to get on. And so I became this fiercely independent woman from a very like kid to being a teenager. Like if I had to go to college, I had to figure it out because I was literally sat down and said, we have no money left. So you got to figure it out. So I did. I figured it out. I solved the problem. So I became an excellent problem solver, excellent decision maker, excellent. So really amazing things as the I Got It Girl. But here's what I discovered in my journey in the last 5 years is that the I Got It Girl is usually leading that life from control, fear, and survival. And you're missing a lot of things in life when you live your life from there. You're missing the ability to fully love another human partner and let that person love you because you don't feel like it's safe. It's not controlled. You feel like your money, like I had a death grip on money. I was like, well, I figured out how to make it through everything, put myself through college, live on my own. Like I know, like I will figure it out financially. So once I got together with my now husband, it took me 7 years into our relationship to fully allow him to love me and love me back and me love him back. And then all of a sudden I got a ring. Like it took like once I knew that I clicked, like I let go, I surrendered and trusted him and allowed myself to be supported by him. And when you move out of the I got it girl way of being, you're thriving instead of surviving. You're loving instead of fearing. You're surrendering and trusting instead of controlling. And so much more business, financial, your health, your partnerships, everything just gets richer and better and deeper. So you can have a great life as an I got it girl and feel fiercely independent and yeah, and you're missing out on love. You're missing out on parts of joy that you don't realize you're missing out on. Like you don't realize it until you start switching it. So now I feel like I'm in this life of thriving from this place of like I'm a full-time nomad living in an RV with this man. Of course I love this man, right? So of course we need, at some point I had to let go. And we've been doing that for 6 years in this 44-foot box. So the podcast really came from this, like, birthing of, constantly talking about this theory of the I Got It Girl and helping women in my business. And even before my business, like, I did 30 years in the restaurant industry, and I helped mentor people to higher levels of leadership and management and promoted 300 plus people, and it's just a neat gift of mine to be able to see in people what they don't see, hold that gift of belief up for them and help them rise to the occasion. So then 6 years ago, 6 years, oh my gosh, 7 years now. February, it all blends. February 2019, I decided to go all in on my own business and from that business, now still learning about myself. We're all still growing, growth and evolution, right, over a lifetime. And it really clicked. It really, really clicked, like, after 2024 when I had to take care of family and I had to, like, pull back from my business and I had to go into full surrender mode. That is technically episode 2 on the podcast. And, and realize that, like, wow, this is what it means to truly surrender and trust and let go and love and, like, go of that I got it girl, I can do it all on my own, I don't need anybody's help. And so this podcast is really centered on featuring women to tell their story about when was it that you were in such a fierce holding on to the death grip of control on that wheel of life and you let go.
Yeah.
So
And I think so many of us, as you were talking, I was thinking little parts of my life popped up like,
yeah,
yep, check that box. I was the youngest. I was not a dramatic child. I was very quiet, kept to myself, stuffed in all the feelings and whatever. And so I was, oh, Julie's fine. She's got it. She's a good girl. She does her homework. She does these things. We don't have to tell her. It's like then at a certain point, it's like, what am I doing?
like
Like,
what are these
somebody
feeling
please tell
things?
me something.
I know.
You just get to those points in life where you're like, wow, yeah, I've been successful, but I've really just been surviving, right? And you're like, I don't want to be like, yeah, it's very stressful to own your own business. And you think, oh God, I got to make some money this month, right? But I could never see myself going back to a career of having to be in an office and on a campus day after day and interacting with all the people just to get through the day. Like, oh, that's like so heavy if I think about it. Like I
Yes.
love working from home and if when we're done and I have a break, I can go lay down in my bed or I can go play with my cat or I can just, take a moment to do whatever I want for joy and there's so much power in owning that, and so I think so much of what your podcast isn't so much about pushing down the "I got it, girl" a lot of us have been, letting go and being like, "Girl, you get to decide, you get to choose, and it doesn't have to fit in the box of what you thought you had to do or everyone told you." And for me as a woman that has no human kids, I often battle against that. I didn't check that box that everybody said you're supposed to check. And that's okay because there's parts of my life that are rich and full that I get to do that other people can't because of their motherhood journey, right?
Absolutely.
So
Same.
I can just imagine the unlimited stories you have to tell for your podcast.
So many, and so relatable and so funny. Within, like, what, 2 minutes, like, me and you probably we already realized we have similar childhoods, right?
Yeah.
And similar ways of growing up, and yet different. Like, I always say,
Right.
we're all the same and yet different, and that's why our stories need to be told. Because there's so many similarities, and then there's so many, like, differences too at the same time. That's why it's important to continue to share.
Yeah, I think that is so important because I still have my mom. I had both my parents, but I also saw them go through struggles that taught me a lot about life. And we had a business when I was little and it did not succeed and it went under and we struggled even more than I had any idea at the time. I know a lot more now and how much my parents did just to keep us in our house and all of these things. And I remember talking to my mom before I started my own business, and she was so fearful of me doing that and giving up on a career with a guaranteed paycheck because of what she'd been through. But it's me showing her, first of all, the world is different now, business is different now. But I have capabilities they didn't have. And, they had a brick and mortar furniture store, very different. But still, I think that sometimes, especially when it comes to our family, we have these negative experiences or thoughts about how we were raised or we weren't raised a certain way. And then we also have to be like, well, she knew what she knew and she did what she did. And I have amazing parents and I wouldn't be here without them. But she also was limited in her worldview. And it was hard for her to realize I'm never going to have kids. It's okay. That's okay. And so I think it is important for women to hear these experiences because sometimes someone else's journey can make us feel like it's okay I feel that way or I'm doing what I'm doing and not doing something else, right?
Absolutely. There's so many things I wanna say from what you just said. One of them is I'm unemployable, and I said that to somebody, and they, like, were like, "Oh, no, but you," and I'm like, "No, no, it's a compliment. It's a compliment. I cannot go back to a job." So I just wanted to highlight that because you said, "I can't imagine myself going back and losing this freedom," and my whole platform is around the freedom life and really creating the life that feels the most free to you to be you and really enjoy life and live it, like, now and stop waiting, right? Um, and my dad's construction company bankrupt twice. We experienced the up and the down and the up and the down, and that deterred every child to not go into their business but me. I saw, like, and so I love that you pointed out that our parents and the people that, like, raised us and they were working from what they knew. So the positive intention of every action they took was to keep us loved, safe, and belonging. Loved, safe, and belong in the world. And that's those 3 foundational things. And so my dad spent no time with me. It's not because he didn't love me profusely, because the man cries when he sees me at a drop of a hat to this day. He's 94 and in dementia, with a little bit of dementia, but, like, he's like, looks at me every time, and he's just so immensely proud and in love with who I've become and who I am. And yet I didn't get any alone time with him until I took care of him with dementia for a couple months back in 2024. And yet I don't blame him for that. But I did have to honor the fact that I was pissed off about it, like, and I didn't realize I was, and feel those feelings and allow myself, but that's what they had to work with, and that's all he knew was, "I gotta provide, I gotta provide, I gotta provide." How many people are in that mode now of, like, "I don't spend that much time with my kids because I gotta provide for them." Well, it's like, how can we help have you experience more of life with your kids and the success and the money and all that? But anyway, we could talk forever, girl.
Right. And, it's so funny because I often, some of my friends who are moms and entrepreneurs and doing all the things, I just look at them and go, I have no idea how you do it because I can barely do what I'm doing and I don't have humans relying on me. Right. And I will say a lot of what you just said is part of why I chose not to have kids because I knew I deal with health issues. I have finite energy in a day. And I knew that if I wanted to be a mom, I wanted to be a mom. Like that is the most important job you can have. But I knew I'd have to work because I was the breadwinner and the one that got us, health insurance. And I'm like, I don't want to be a mom and then not be there. And so I think some of our experiences sometimes help us make decisions. But I also sometimes think some of our decisions hamper us from making other decisions, right? And even starting a podcast. I don't know anything about podcasting. I knew nothing about podcasting before I started. And I will say for me personally, I came from a career in higher ed where I was a teacher, I was a researcher, I spoke, I presented, but it wasn't about me. It was about a topic or about research or about information, right? And so for a lot of women, the podcasting world is hard because it's focused on us. We're sharing us, sharing our business, which is very personal. And so I think a lot of what you're doing with your podcast with the I Got It Girl is it's okay. You can be I Got It even if you don't know what you're doing yet.
Yes. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I definitely want women to understand, like, you're not alone, and you've brought this up quite a few times, and I think we both just have a passion for helping people, like, you're not alone. Like, what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what you're going through, what you're experiencing, and there's nothing wrong with you, nothing needs to be fixed, and you get to experience life differently towards the way that you truly desire without losing everything that you've built, and that is really important too. And so I was the 40-year-old who was like, "But why don't I have kids?" And like, "What the heck?" Like everyone in my family and my because I'm a childless woman as well, except now I have 4 stepkids, so that was different. But that was not planned either. But I would actually questioned, like, what's wrong with me in that stage, and I was like, "What's wrong with me, and why is everyone else" and telling that story now, like, helps other women because I do have told that story. I haven't done an episode on it yet, but I will be, and it's like, that's my journey. That's what God was
Right.
meant for me. I've impacted so many children in my life in so many ways. I've been called mom by kids before, but, like, it's just, like, that was the way I was meant to be presented in the world as a mother and
Right.
as a mentor to kids, so these stories are so important, so thank you. I just wanna say thank you for helping me make this a reality because you did
Yeah.
amazing, and when I say, guys, when I say Julie, like, she undersells, over delivers, we've all heard that before. It is she's 100% that.
Yeah. And, I will say selling and sales and numbers and prices is the hardest part of business for me because that is not a natural I am not a natural seller. I'm a natural teacher and giver and supporter and mentor. And so I think we all learn different skills we have to have. And podcasting has helped me sell a little more how to talk about my business in different ways because it's hard to do it when it's not natural, but also we don't want to just only sell when we talk to people. Like that's no fun. And I think that podcasting helped me a lot in that way. So I appreciate you saying that because I am passionate about helping other people do it without it being hard and scary.
So let me just give you perspective. If you didn't make an offer, I would not be here today with the fire in my belly that I was missing for years. So if you could remember that when you ever feel pausing on making an offer or pausing when you're like, "Well, should I charge this much or this and that?" Yes. Remember Jackie. Remember the fire that I feel now doing this because I've moved through my fear and did it because I worked in your program with you, and I just wouldn't have this like I have it now if I didn't do that. I'd still be searching, I'd still be wondering, I'd still be, like, trying to figure it out, right? And 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 so I remember back in my first year, second year actually, because it was COVID and everything was virtual, and there was this big event with the coaching school, and this guy got on the screen and he goes, "Listen, people are dying emotionally, physically, spiritually, all ways because you're not sharing your message and your offers." And I was
Mm,
like, it hit me like a ton of bricks. So I'm an example of that for you. So remember this, I'm an
thank
example
you.
for that for you. When you're not sure, go, "Yeah, Jackie's fire came back because of me, because she got into
Right.
podcasting." So just don't ever forget that.
I'm going to cut that out and like play it for myself every week.
And play it and put it out as reels and everything because for anyone listening, like, if you have a mission, like, you have this fire, like, of what it is that you can make a difference for people, they're literally being held back physically, emotionally, spiritually, all the ways because you're not sharing your message. Because here's what happens when we don't share it, we're making it about ourselves. Our own ego is kind of stopping us from like, "Well, what if they don't?" And I'm like, "Yeah, stop making it about you, make it about them. And thank you for not making it about you and making it about me."
Other people. Well, but I think that's so important because so much of the world is compare despair. Even like I was in a workshop this morning, everybody was talking about all the numbers, how much money they were making, how much they sold. And I think a lot of us let that deter us when totally different business has nothing to do with what I do. it's okay for them to be successful. That doesn't say I can't be, right? I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of that a lot of us, especially women, we listen too much to what our spouses or our parents or our family or someone says to us instead of being like, that's just noise. Like, go away, get out of my space.
Yes.
And so I think both of us are here to help women with that is
Yes.
listen to the voice inside you, listen to your don't talk yourself out of things you haven't even tried yet. Because as Jackie said, it was this big scary thing that once she got in, it was like, oh, it's not as hard as I thought it was to do these things.
Mhm.
And I do think podcasting is a big scary thing. And it is, I'm not trying to say it doesn't take work and it doesn't take time, right? But like you said, there's so many tools now that make it faster, that make it easier. And ultimately, people are not coming to your podcast for a perfectly sounding, fancy video. Like, we are not Amy Poehler
The
Good Hang,
perfect show
right?
note.
Right. We are not that. We do not have production teams. What people are coming for is the content, is the connection, and they want to feel the realness. They want to hear us share these little stories we've been sharing, like, oh, Jackie lost her mom early. She'll understand how I've been through what I've been through. Or, whatever it is, there's little pieces of our story that just connect with people. And I have found no other way, emails, blogs, social media, that you can build that powerful connection as you can in podcasting.
I agree. I agree 100%. And I will say the biggest thing that you've got to let go of to take action on something like this is trying to be perfect or right or correct or doing it blah 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 blah. Insert thing. And I think that that's truly what clicked over the final piece that was like, that made me be the first to launch in your beta. Yay. I mean, your first program was that someone said, you can always go back and adjust and change and this and that. Like, so just put it out there. Like, just go. And I know that and I teach that, right? Like, I just needed someone else to say it back to me to go, okay, they're right. Like, I can just go. I can just put it out there and trust. And then
Mhm.
pivot and adjust later on like we do in all of life, right? So that perfectionism or that fear of being incorrect or doing it wrong can really, really hold you back. When I realize that, okay, I don't have to worry about that. Like I can just click the button and see what happens. So
And
yeah,
I've seen people go years of trying and fixing and doing and not launching or finally launching. And it's like, guys, just do it. Like my first episodes of my first podcast were not edited. They were not great quality sound. And people still listened and people still said, hey, I listened. I want to be on your podcast, right? You have to just start putting it out there to see what reverberates.
I gotta share one more
And
story on that one. The first
yes.
thing that ever put me live on video was my first year of coaching, and I got challenged to do a 30-day live challenge, right? These challenges that people do, like go live on Facebook. I would go live at 6 in the morning walking my dogs, and I would have the camera, like, reversed and not realize it, and I videoed my dog pooping while I was talking. It was a movement challenge. It was a 30-day movement challenge, and every time I moved my body, I got live on Facebook because I needed to, like, push myself out of the comfort zone and just, like, do it. I have people to this day, 6 years later going, "I remember when you recorded your dog. That was so funny, and you were talking about walking," and I was like, "Oh my god, my dog was pooping." Like, I didn't realize, but I left it. I left it there. It was real, it was raw, and it was authentic, and it was funny. So, my point is that, like, do something that can help break you of whatever it is that you're fearing of just going for it and doing it, and join Julie's program.
Well, isn't that a great way to stop?
I mean, I got some great programs too, but I'm not gonna teach you how to podcast. If you wanna do a podcast, Julie's your girl. If you wanna know the
If you
experience,
need
listen to
help,
this.
yes. If you're struggling with the inner words and thoughts and breaking down, you go to Jackie and then
Yep.
come to me for the technical stuff.
Yes, exactly. If you wanna get out of your head and take the action she's gonna help you with, she simplifies it and too.
Yeah, because sometimes we think it has to be a certain way, and it's like, I don't know who told you that, but it doesn't. You
Yeah.
get to make it whatever you want. But I also think that's a really important thing to kind of close out our conversation is everybody gives something different. Every podcast, you get something different. And even though, yes, I do a lot of how-tos and tips, sometimes it's not that. It's me sharing a story of something I overcame or I broke through or with one of my guests because people just need to hear it's okay that I tried it and failed, but I just tried it again and tried something different, right? And that's the power of podcasting, is because we put ourselves out there, we teach, we share parts of our story. We never know what's going to hit for someone. And if you have a call, if you feel an urge to put something out there, there's a reason. There's something somebody needs. Just like Jackie was feeling it, even though she was guesting for 4 years. She knew she had something to share, but that she could also help other women share things that people needed to hear by having guests on her show. So
Yeah.
anyone out there listening to us, just realize you're here for a reason. We're telling you these things to push you forward, and if either of us can support you in that, we are here for you.
I'm a Jersey girl. I'll be straight up and tell you like what I think would be like great or not great, and then you take what you like and leave the rest, you know? And so, but most of the time, if you have a desire that's coming up, you're meant to do it. It's meant for you. Like that desire is coming from a higher power in you, and you got to follow that. And most of the time when you sit with someone like me or Julie, we're going to tell you like that's like yes, you can. Yes, you can. You just need to hear it. We need to hold that belief up for you here till you get there, and you will do it. So spend some time with cool people like us.
Absolutely. Be like us.
Be like us. Just kidding. No comparison. Just kidding. You be you,
Yes.
but hang out with us.
You be you. Right. And I think, even though it's kind of askew at the moment because I'm in process of changing it, me showing up with my pink mic and my pink walls and my pet photos behind me is something I never did in my old world because I was in a box and, we had dress codes and there were certain things you couldn't do because there's all these rules. But there's no rules in podcasting, and don't let anybody tell you there are, because you get to choose the rules for you and for your podcast and whatever it is, whether it's all solos or all, guests or combination like both of us. And if you're unsure, then just keep listening. Keep listening to this podcast. Go listen to Jackie's The I Got It Girl podcast, because you're going to get those nuggets you need to hear. And that's ultimately what it's all about for me, is helping other people podcast, because I know it's a ripple effect. We can expand that and help especially other women step into their power and then help other women to do the same. That's what it's all about.
I'm laughing because episode 4 was about like there are no rules with my guest expert Megan, and an interview that I interviewed. And when you said no rules, I was like, yes, like no rules. Like there's no rules in business either. Like when you start, if you're looking to start a business and you haven't, or you're in it, you decide the rules. So
Yep. Absolutely.
Excellent.
Well, thank you, Jackie, for being here, sharing some of your story and talking about your journey to now being officially a podcaster. So everyone check out the I Got It Girl podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and follow Jackie for more new insights and amazing guests. And I just want to thank you so much for being here and being so positive and open and supportive of me too, because we all need that from each other. And I just really want to say I appreciate you, and I'm also so proud of you. And yay, I Got It Girl podcast is out in the world, and so everyone go listen now.
Thank you. Love you, girl.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Podcast Your Story. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. And if you got inspired to start your own podcast after hearing this episode, go to the link in the episode description and head to my website, juliemarty-pearson.com, and learn more about my podcast launch program. I have lots of options for everyone, from group programs to one-on-one, to accountability and support, as well as my amazing community of fellow podcasters and podcast guests that you can become a part of today. Thanks again for listening. Sending love from your podcasting mentor.